Good evening and welcome to our weekly roundup here on HSTV, where we give you the stories that made the headlines throughout the week. I am Hlonipani Samson and thank you for joining us. Here are our top stories. ZANU-PF threatens MPs on CAB3. Glenview 8 Area 8 bans once more. Drug and substance abuse among the youth deepens. Wignell Chivayo withdraws charges against ex-wife and mother-in-law. In-drive driver murdered by close friend. Here are the top stories in greater detail. Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs on Wednesday, the 20th of May 2026, threatened members of Parliament, telling them that there will not be any secret ballot when the time comes to vote on the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3. Members of Parliament will instead use a method he termed as the party's parliamentary system. Our reporter Noctenda Domingo gives us more.
Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, Ziyambi on Wednesday said, Zimbabwe's parliament will not use a secret ballot when lawmakers vote on the Constitutional Amendment number 3 bill, but instead members of parliament will vote under the country's party parliamentary system, where legislators are expected to follow party directives and publicly indicate their positions during the voting process. Ziyambi said this at the ZANU-PF Youth League Assembly, where President Emerson Mnangagwa was the guest of honor. This announcement also comes just after the Parliament concluded its 90-day public consultation window for CAB3.
First reading, inove kungonodoma kuti Constitution Amendment number 3 bill tobva tazopinda mu second reading mandine chazenge ndichipakura kuti bhiriro rinomborevei kunhengo dzeparamende nenyika yese tichitsetsenura zvarinoreva kuitira kuti tinge tichivhura debate kuparamendi. Kana tapedza debate iyo tozopinda manje mucommittee stage matinenge tichiongorora close by close tichiipasa kusvika tapedza. Kana tazopedza tochizovhota kuparamendi yeexcellency kune vanga vakunyepera vanhu kuti kuparamendi kunotengwa vanhu kukanzi ndokwakunovhotwa vanhu vanotengwa. Kuparamendi system yedu yemuno muZimbabwe iparty parliamentary system. Mukatarisa muconstitution makatonyorwa kunzi mune mawhip, machief whip. Whip ishamu inorehwa nashefu yaine munyu. Saka munhu uye anonzi togare basa rake nderekutaura kuti direction yeparty ndeiyi ndo yatinoenda. Kana zvikanzi taakuvhota tinoita inonzi dividing the house. Zvonzi vanoti yes endai uku, vanoti no endai uku. Kobva kwatsvagwa anonzi mataila anenge ane register. Saka haakubvunze, anotarisa first kuti okay, Honorable John Paradza, present. Honorable Chinomona, present. Honorable Muchinguri, achitika, achienda. Hakuna zviya zvekuti unoenda pachifona wati ndakuita act nekuti it's a party democratic system.
Legal practitioner Jacqueline Sande commented on the parliament, saying it is compromised in the way it has done its business and there is need for a referendum as the outcome of public hearings are not conclusive but are just reflections of the people towards CAB3.
It would seem Parliament itself is compromised in the way it has been conducting its business. However, I would also want to hasten to point out that the public hearings and whatever results came out from there, and also the public contributions which were being done via email or letter and other means, are not conclusive. This is not supposed to be the end when you are dealing with amendments of such a nature. there is supposed to be referendums, and as we've already stated on record, there are supposed to be 2 referendums, one for that extension. And if that extension is to benefit the incumbent, then there's also need for another referendum. So what these public opinions are coming out are only doing is to reflect what the will of the people is. But these are not conclusive in terms of fulfilling the requirements of the law.
However, the Minister of Youth Empowerment, Development and Vocational Training of Zimbabwe, Tino Machakaria, is of the opinion that CAB3 is a done deal.
Your Excellency, ndibvumirei kuti ndingotsigira zvataurwa navaZiambi kana vanhu vachiti zvaendwa vari kuti masipotsi apera, kuti zvaendwa kuti masipotsi aita sei apera, zvaendwa CAB3 zvaendwa pasi nemhando.
For HSTV, Dr. Domingo.
The Glenview Area 8 Furniture Complex has been dazed once more by the fire, a cycle which has been recurring since 2015. The fires are believed to be frequently triggered by human error, such as security guards lighting fires to keep warm near highly flammable materials, or electrical faults. The recent fires have raised new suspicions, as they are now believed to have been caused by internal fights within the camp. Elias Chimatilo has more.
Since 2015, it has been a cycle of fires recurring almost yearly, causing damages worth thousands of dollars at Glenview Area 8 Furniture Complex. The cause of these fires has been attributed to human error, such as security guards lighting fires to keep warm near highly flammable materials or electrical faults. However, within recent fires which broke out on Sunday morning, manufacturers at the site have blamed management and internal fights within the camp, which they say whenever they start, fires break out.
Chikonzero chikuru taimbofungidzirawo kuti magetsi kana kuti fodya dzevanhu vanoputa sometimes zvinogona kukonzeresa, but the main issue akunyanya kuitika ndeyekuti paakuitwa zvemacollection emari panapa paakuita kakurwisana kuti mumwe nomwe anenge achidawo mari iyoyo pane vanhu vatungamiriri vatinoti vatungamiriri vedu panapa. Ende management yedu isusu chiri kutinetsa ndechekuti haisi kutorwa kumacarpenters, vanhu vari kungobva from somewhere vachingotaura kuti isusu tiri veZANU-PF tabva kumusoro.
But isusu dambudziko redu ratinaro manje zviro ratinosangana naro gore negore, tine management yedu iri panapa. Vanhu ivava kune inonzi development kwozoita management vanobva vachirosana ukaona panokolektwa mari pacomplex pakunzi pakubhadhariswa mari. After mari yapedza kutorwa ndofunga vanhu vanotadza kuwirirana pamari, ipapa zvakuita kuti tinotsirwa. Saka tasvika taakubvunza panapa pari kunzi vanhu magadhi aitainzi kune magadhi 21 anga arimo vakasara vodzinga vanhu manheru kuti makapenda abudai hakuna kushanda usiku zvisina nguva pasina nguva kuti akutonzwa kuti matso kuti ziyo ini kuti nyatsosisa moto wakatanga sei kozongunzi wakatangira side iri. Saka pakangoitika friction yemanagement yedu kuti havasi kuwirirana paakutotsa zvakaitika futi last year pakangoitika friction yedu nemanagement yedu pavanenge vangotanga kurwisana after vatora mari maakutotsa.
Basically, we can't base on speculations. The things like Uroi and Urombwa, those are just speculations because we are not very sure about that. Sometimes maybe we can talk of political or maybe not actually political as of big political aspects. Probably just political surrounding here. Those chairperson and those people who are in the leadership, probably they are just fighting one another, and at the end of the day, they fight using us. And at the end of the day, we are the one who are losing.
For HSTV, Elias Chimatilo.
Government has expressed concern over drug and substance abuse disproportionately affecting the youth in Zimbabwe. Speaking during the post-cabinet briefing this Tuesday, Minister of Defense Opamu Chinguri has said more than 600 offenders are being arrested every week and are below the age of 35.
Few rehabilitation centers, which so far the committee has been able to put in place. He was coming from the background that every week 600 offenders are being arrested, and covering the period that we discussed today in Cabinet, you are looking at 2,889 offenders that were arrested. And most of these are below the age of 35 years. And these are mainly young people.
In other news, businessman Wick Nochivayo has withdrawn charges against ex-wife Sonia Madzikanda and mother-in-law Tabitha Madzikanda, who were facing charges of cyberbullying. The duo were arrested on Monday, the 18th of May 2026, and spent 4 nights in custody before the charges were dropped. Our reporter gives us more.
Sonia Madzikanda, ex-wife to businessman Wick Nochivayo, and their mother Tabitha Madzikanda, who were arrested this Monday on charges of cyberbullying, had their charges withdrawn today at the Harare Magistrate Court. It is alleged that Madzikanda and their mother both accessed Chivayo's mobile phone and downloaded photographs involving South African President Cyril Ramaphosa. The duo spent 4 nights behind bars before Chivayo dropped the charges in what has been termed as a flex of muscles, as the businessman himself mentioned the arrest was meant to keep the accused in check before saying runs were buttercup, a rhetoric statement to suggest Madzikanda and her mother deserved everything that came their way.
She's the mother of my children, so I have forgiven her. My kids have been calling, asking, where's mommy? So once it involves my kids, then I'm defeated because of the people I love the most. I don't regret anything because for my mother-in-law to circulate, fake pictures of me and President Ramaphosa as a way of trying to show that President Ramaphosa's spokesperson lied, that it was my first time meeting him at Pre-Cape Farm. I think that was a bit out of order. She went to the extremes. Citizens must respect heads of state. That was uncalled for.
Reporting for HSTV, Janet Maforembo.
And in sad news, the Zimbabwe Republic Police confirmed the arrest of Shepard Severa yesterday, the 21st of May 2026, in connection with a case of murder which occurred in Warren Park D, in which Brian Nandana was killed. It is alleged that Severa cut Nandana's throat with a kitchen knife before sucking his blood. The arrest came after the recovery of a blood-stained Toyota Aqua vehicle registration number AGO 2804 at Warren Hills Cemetery. Investigations into the full circumstances surrounding the murder case are still in progress. We now turn to sports with Ruvimbo Mukwindidza. Over to you, Ruvimbo.
We begin right here on home soil, where Zimbabwe sport is enjoying an unprecedented golden era on the track, the pitch and the rugby field. We start with the historic scenes from Accra, Ghana. The national men's 4x400 meter relay team has shattered expectations to claim Zimbabwe's first ever gold medal in event of the Africa Athletics Championships. Battling a heavy rain-soaked track, the formidable quartet of Tandazani Lovu, Gideon Muwishi, Leaford Zuze, and Dennis Hove stormed across the finish line in a staggering 3 minutes, executing a clinical finish to edge out continental heavyweights Kenya and Botswana. From the running track to the rugby pitch, our national team, the Sables, won the annual National Sports Award where they took home Team of the Year. Ed Bernard scooped Coach of the Year. The Zimbabwe Rugby Union has dropped a blockbuster 3-month roadmap. With historic 2027 Rugby World Cup qualifications already in the bag, Sables are treating the upcoming weeks as a massive high-performance launchpad. This all leads to a massive high-profile curtain raiser on the 20th of June, where they square off against South Africa. Turning to local football. Preparations are hitting full gear ahead of the Unity Cup clash against Nigeria in London on 25 May 2026. However, interim Warriors coach Kaitano Tembo has been forced into a major squad shuffle. Star defender Divine Lunga has officially withdrawn due to club commitments with Mamelodi Sundowns as they prepare for the CAF Champions League final. Injuries ruled out Tinotenda Kawere, while Bill Attorney is away on personal leave. In their place, reigning local player of the year, Washington Nevada, Prosper Padera, and Ishe Anesumawuchi have been called up to the squad. Sakunda Holding has stepped in bankroll much-needed renovations in the National Sports Stadium in Harare, aiming to bring back historic venue to international standards. Sakunda Holdings handed over bucket seats which have since been installed as the government aims to complete the renovations by the end of May 2020. The 22-year drought is finally over. Arsenal have officially crowned Premier League champions, securing the coveted trophy with a week to spare. Mikel Arteta's squad completely shattered the bottlers tag, sparkling wild emotions, celebrations outside the Emirates that ran late into the night. Aston Villa are now the Europa League champions after a resounding 3-0 thrashing the Frag bag. The victory secures manager Unai Emery his historic 5th Europa League title and crucially opens up the potential for a 6th Champions League qualification spot for the English football next season. That's all for sports. Back to you, Lolipani.
Thank you, Rovimbo, for the sport update. And that's all we had for you in our weekly roundup. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share our content. Have a good night and a great weekend.